There's a curious thing about the quiet ones, the ones who don't rush to speak, who don't fill every silence with noise. They seem to know something the rest of us don't, something vital. While the world races to be heard, they remain calm, observing, listening. And when they do speak, people pay attention. And in a world where every second is a competition for attention, where conversations often turn into a clash of egos, there exists a rare and underrated power. The power of restraint, of silence, of choosing words wisely. This power isn't flashy or loud. It doesn't demand the spotlight or crave validation, but it has a magnetic quality that draws others in, that commands respect without uttering a word. What is it that gives these quiet individuals their unique power? It's not just about being reserved or timid. It's about understanding something deeper, that real power comes from within. This is the essence of quiet strength, a concept that the Stoics, ancient philosophers who prized wisdom above all else, knew all too well. The Stoics believed that true strength isn't found in force or volume, but in mastering our own minds, in choosing when to speak and when to remain silent, and in knowing that silence itself can be the most compelling voice in the room. But this isn't the kind of silence that comes from weakness or fear. It's a silence rooted in confidence and clarity, the kind of silence that holds space, that makes room for deeper understanding, that resists the urge to react impulsively. The Stoics saw silence not as the absence of speech, but as an active choice. A choice to listen more than we talk, to think before we speak, and to let our actions carry the weight of our words. Think of the greatest leaders, thinkers, and visionaries throughout history. They weren't the ones who spoke the most or shouted the loudest. They were the ones who spoke with intention, who chose their moments carefully, and whose words, when finally spoken, carried a depth that could move mountains. Why does this matter now, in a world louder than it has ever been? Because in the midst of all the noise, those who cultivate this quiet strength are the ones who stand out. They are the ones who find clarity in confusion, who remain steady when others are shaken, and who understand that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply be still. Today, we're going to explore the timeless wisdom of the Stoics and learn how this ancient philosophy can teach us to harness the power of quiet strength in our own lives. Whether it's in our relationships, our careers, or our inner battles, we will discover how to use silence not as a retreat, but as a tool for growth, resilience, and influence. So if you've ever wondered how to find your true strength or how to speak so people really listen, stay with us, because sometimes the strongest voice is the one that knows when to remain silent. Lesson 1: The power of silence and thoughtful speech. What if we told you that one of the most powerful tools at your disposal is simply saying nothing at all? In a world where every second feels like a race to be heard, where the loudest voice often gets the most attention, the idea that silence could be a form of strength might seem contradictory. Yet the Stoics understood something about silence that we frequently overlook. It is not a lack of communication, but rather a deeply intentional act. It is a choice to use words wisely, to speak only when necessary, and to find power in restraint. The Stoics believed that words should be like arrows, released only when they are aimed with purpose. They saw conversations not as battles to be won or opportunities to assert dominance, but as sacred grounds for learning, understanding, and growth. Speaking less wasn't about holding back out of fear or insecurity. It was about wielding words carefully, knowing that every utterance has the potential to impact, to heal, or to harm. Silence for the Stoics was never passive. It was active, deliberate, and strategic. To them, silence created space, space to think, to observe, to listen. When we refrain from speaking, we open ourselves up to deeper understanding, both of others and ourselves. In this pause, there is an opportunity to reflect, to gather our thoughts, and to resist the impulse to react emotionally. By choosing silence, we cultivate the ability to remain calm and composed, even in the most chaotic situations. Consider a moment when you felt compelled to speak, perhaps to defend yourself in an argument or to voice your opinion in a heated discussion. How often do those words, spoken in haste, lead to regret? How often do they escalate conflict rather than resolve it? The Stoics would argue that true strength lies not in the immediate satisfaction of speaking our minds, but in the discipline to hold our tongue. It is this discipline that separates impulsive reactions from thoughtful responses, allowing us to act from a place of wisdom rather than emotion. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, wrote extensively about the power of mastering one's inner dialogue. He believed that we should speak only when our words improve upon the silence, when they are necessary to convey truth or contribute to the greater good. By speaking less, our words carry more weight. They become more meaningful, more impactful, and more respected. Others learn to listen when we speak, knowing that our words are carefully considered and intentional. But what does this look like in daily life? Imagine a scenario where you receive criticism. The natural instinct might be to respond immediately, to defend your actions, or to counterattack. However, the Stoic approach would encourage you to pause, to listen fully without interruption, and to evaluate the criticism objectively. Does it have merit? Is there truth in it that you can learn from? By choosing silence in that moment, you conserve your energy and demonstrate a quiet confidence. This response not only disarms the critic, but also empowers you to grow from the feedback. Cultivating this quiet strength requires practice. It begins with the simple act of reflection. At the end of each day, take a moment to consider the conversations you had. Were there moments where silence would have served you better? Could a thoughtful pause have changed the outcome for the better? This habit of reflection sharpens your awareness, helping you become more intentional in your speech and more mindful of the impact of your words. The Stoics also remind us of the impermanence of all things. They urge us to remember that our time is limited, that every word we speak carries the weight of that precious commodity. By choosing silence over meaningless chatter, we honor the value of our own time and the time of others. In doing so, we begin to see that true power does not lie in speaking more, but in speaking less, and with greater purpose. In a world filled with constant noise, the quiet ones are often the most powerful. They understand that sometimes the most profound impact comes not from what is said, but from what is left unsaid. Silence, used wisely, becomes a form of strength, a source of influence that is rooted in clarity, composure, and thoughtful intent. And in embracing this quiet strength, we learn to speak only when it truly matters, making every word count. Lesson 2. Inner resilience over external control. Where does true strength come from? Is it found in the power to control others, to manipulate external circumstances to our liking, or to bend the world to our will? The Stoics had a radically different view. They believed that real strength doesn't come from controlling the outside world, but from mastering our inner world, from cultivating a resilience that is unshakable regardless of what happens around us. The Stoic philosophers taught that the greatest power lies in the mind's ability to remain calm, rational, and unperturbed by external events. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most famous Stoics, captured this idea succinctly when he wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this: and you will find strength. To the Stoics, this realization was not just a comforting thought, but a call to action. It was an invitation to focus on what we can control, our thoughts, our attitudes, and our reactions, and to let go of what we cannot, the unpredictable nature of the world outside us. This is easier said than done. Modern life is filled with stresses and challenges that seem to demand our immediate attention and reaction. But the Stoics would urge us to pause and reflect before we respond. They understood that most of our suffering is not caused by external events themselves, but by our reactions to them. An insult, a setback, or a criticism has no inherent power to disturb us. It is our judgment about these events that creates turmoil in our minds. The Stoics believed that by cultivating a quiet mind, one that is free from the chaos of uncontrolled emotions and irrational thoughts, we can face life's challenges with a steady hand. This quiet mind is not passive or indifferent. It is actively engaged in the process of self-mastery. It means developing the ability to observe our thoughts and emotions without being overwhelmed by them. It involves recognizing that while we cannot always control what happens to us, we can always control how we choose to respond. Take, for example, a common situation, receiving criticism. The instinctive reaction for many is to become defensive, to argue, or to feel hurt. But the Stoic approach suggests a different path. Rather than reacting impulsively, take a moment to breathe, to listen, and to consider whether there might be truth in the feedback. Ask yourself, is there something valuable here that I can learn from? This calm and measured response not only conserves your mental energy, but also allows you to grow from the experience rather than be diminished by it. It transforms criticism from a potential threat into an opportunity for self-improvement. Cultivating inner resilience also involves practicing reflection. The Stoics encouraged daily reflection as a means to strengthen the mind and prepare it for future challenges. At the end of each day, take time to review your actions and reactions. What stirred your emotions today? How did you respond? Could a quieter, more reasoned approach have altered the outcome? This practice of self-examination enhances self-awareness and builds a habit of responding thoughtfully rather than reacting impulsively. The Stoics also remind us of the impermanence of all things. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, often reflected on the fleeting nature of life, urging himself to remember, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. This awareness of our mortality is not meant to induce fear, but to inspire us to live fully in the present, to embrace each moment with clarity and purpose, but without attachment. It's a reminder that our true power lies in how we choose to face each moment, regardless of what it brings. In practice, this means asking ourselves, what can I learn from this situation, whenever we face a challenge or obstacle? By viewing difficulties as opportunities to practice virtues like patience, courage, and discipline, we shift our perspective from seeing challenges as threats to seeing them as steps on our path to personal growth. Each difficulty becomes a chance to exercise our inner strength, to refine our character, and to prove to ourselves that we are capable of more than we might have believed. But how do we put this philosophy into daily practice? It starts with a conscious effort to control our reactions. When faced with a moment of stress or anger, take a deliberate pause. Breathe deeply and ask yourself, is my impending reaction within the realm of reason? This simple practice can help maintain a quiet mind amid the noise of everyday life. It allows us to respond to situations thoughtfully rather than being driven by knee-jerk emotions. The The Stoics also teach that true power comes from within, not from the approval or validation of others. They emphasize the importance of inner conviction and moral integrity over societal pressures. This doesn't mean disregarding others entirely, but it does mean weighing our values and reason above external opinions. It's about understanding that our worth is not determined by others' perceptions, but by our own choices and actions. To cultivate this inner resilience, start by focusing on one Stoic principle: control over your reactions. Whenever you feel a rush of emotion, whether anger, fear, or frustration, pause, take a breath. Remind yourself that you have control over your mind, not the event. Ask yourself if your reaction is serving your best self, or if there is a calmer, more composed way to respond. By doing so, you begin to build a quiet strength that is resilient against the storms of life. You learn to remain steady, composed, and focused, regardless of what happens around you. This is the essence of Stoic inner resilience. The understanding that while we cannot control everything that happens to us, we can always control how we choose to respond. And in that choice lies our true power. Lesson 3. Handling criticism with quiet strength. How do you usually react when someone criticizes you? For most of us, criticism triggers a familiar response: defensiveness, anger, or even self-doubt. It can feel like an attack on our character or our competence, stirring up emotions that make us want to fight back, shut down, or prove the critic wrong. But what if we approached criticism differently? What if, instead of seeing it as a personal assault, we viewed it as an opportunity, a chance to practice resilience, humility, and self-improvement? The Stoics believed that criticism, whether constructive or harsh, offers a unique opportunity to strengthen our character. To them, every piece of feedback, even the unkind or unfair ones, could be used as a tool for growth. Rather than fearing or resenting criticism, they embraced it as part of their journey toward wisdom. The Stoics saw criticism as a mirror reflecting not just how others see us, but also how we see ourselves, our reactions, our insecurities, our strengths, and our capacity for growth. The key to handling criticism with quiet strength lies in how we perceive it. The Stoics taught that criticism itself is neutral. It is our judgment of it that gives it power. When someone criticizes us, we often make the mistake of assuming that their words define us, that they have the authority to determine our worth or abilities. But the Stoics remind us that only our own opinions can harm us, not the words of others. This perspective shift is crucial. It empowers us to detach our sense of self from the feedback we receive, allowing us to evaluate it objectively. Consider how you typically respond to criticism. Do you immediately feel the need to justify yourself, to prove that you're right and they're wrong? Do you let their words eat away at your confidence, replaying them in your mind until they become more significant than they truly are? The Stoic approach suggests a different path. Instead of reacting defensively or emotionally, take a moment to pause and breathe. Allow the initial sting of the criticism to settle, and then ask yourself, is there any truth in what is being said? Is there something here that I can learn from? This deliberate pause is powerful. It creates a buffer between the event and your reaction, allowing you to respond from a place of calm and reason rather than impulse. It also gives you time to consider the critic's intentions. Are they offering constructive feedback that could help you grow, or are they speaking from a place of their own insecurities or biases? By assessing the validity of the criticism with a clear mind, you can determine whether it warrants a change in behavior or if it should simply be dismissed. Another valuable Stoic practice is to question the source and context of the criticism. Not all feedback is created equal, and not all critics have your best interests at heart. When faced with criticism, ask yourself, is this person qualified to judge me in this area? Do they truly understand my intentions, my goals, or my circumstances? This line of questioning can help you filter out feedback that is unhelpful or irrelevant while focusing on the parts that are genuinely useful. It encourages a more analytical approach to interactions, aligning with the Stoic principle of using reason to navigate life's challenges. However, even when criticism is harsh or unfounded, the Stoics suggest finding a way to be grateful for it. This might seem counterintuitive, but consider this. Every piece of criticism, no matter how negative, contains the seed of a lesson. Perhaps it points out a blind spot in your behavior or thinking. Perhaps it offers a different perspective that you hadn't considered. Or perhaps it simply provides an opportunity to practice patience and composure. By adopting a mindset of gratitude, you transform criticism from a source of pain into a catalyst for growth. The Stoics also emphasize the importance of recognizing the limitations of your control over others' perceptions and judgments. They taught that while we can control our actions and responses, we cannot control what others think of us. This realization can be liberating. It frees us from the impossible task of trying to please everyone or winning everyone's approval. Instead, we can focus on maintaining our integrity and acting according to our own principles, regardless of what others might say or think. Think back to the last time someone criticized you. Did you allow their words to disturb your peace unnecessarily? Did you internalize their opinions, letting them shape your self-image or dictate your emotions? The Stoics would encourage you to see this moment as a test, an opportunity to practice resilience. They believed that by training ourselves to detach from external judgments, we build an inner fortitude that no criticism can shake. Practicing this approach takes time and effort. One practical method is to engage in regular reflection. After receiving criticism, write down your initial emotional reaction. Notice any immediate impulses to defend yourself or to dismiss the feedback entirely. Then, apply Stoic techniques to reassess the situation. Ask yourself, did the critic have a point? Is there something I can learn from this? How can I use this feedback to enhance my personal or professional life? This analysis will help you shift from a place of emotional reaction to one of rational response. The Stoics also encourage us to create feedback loops. Instead of avoiding criticism, seek it out from those you trust and respect. Ask for clarification or more details if needed. This proactive approach demonstrates a commitment to self-improvement and a willingness to engage constructively with critics. By regularly exposing yourself to feedback, you build resilience and learn to handle criticism with grace and equanimity. Ultimately, handling criticism with quiet strength means choosing to see it as an opportunity rather than a threat. It means understanding that criticism, whether fair or unjust, is just another part of life, not a reflection of your worth, but a tool for your growth. When you detach your self-esteem from the opinions of others, you gain the freedom to learn from every experience without being diminished by it. You cultivate a quiet confidence that remains steady, no matter what others say or think. So the next time you face criticism, remember this: it is not the words of others that define you, but your response to them. Choose to see criticism as a chance to grow, to reflect, and to strengthen your character. In doing so, you will embody the Stoic quiet strength that is unshaken by judgment and grounded in a deep, unyielding inner peace. Lesson 4. Overcoming fear and anxiety with quiet strength. Fear and anxiety. These are emotions we all know too well. They often creep into our minds uninvited, unsettling our peace, clouding our judgment, and draining our energy. But what if there were a way to face these emotions, not with resistance or avoidance, but with quiet strength? The Stoics believed that much of our fear and anxiety stems not from the events themselves, but from our judgments about them. They taught that by changing our perspective, we could reclaim our inner calm, no matter what life throws our way. To the Stoics, fear was not an enemy to be conquered, but a signal, an indicator that our mind is dwelling on something outside of our control. They believed that our anxieties often arise from our fixation on the future, on what might happen, what could go wrong, or what we might lose. This fixation can create a whirlwind of worry, dragging us away from the present moment and causing unnecessary suffering over things that have not and may never come to pass. The Stoics proposed a powerful antidote: focus on what is within your control and let go of what is not. This concept may sound simple, but its implications are profound. When faced with a situation that stirs anxiety, ask yourself, is this within my control? If the answer is no, if it involves the actions or opinions of others, or the unpredictable events of the future, then recognize that no amount of worry will change the outcome. By accepting that some things are beyond your control, you release yourself from the burden of trying to manage the unmanageable. You free up your mental energy to focus on what you can control: your thoughts, your actions, your responses. But what about those fears that seem to grip us so tightly, the ones that keep us awake at night or paralyze us into inaction? The Stoics had a unique practice for dealing with these: negative visualization. This practice involves deliberately imagining the worst-case scenario, not to dwell in negativity, but to prepare the mind for any outcome. Picture, in detail, the event you fear the most. Imagine it happening and see yourself enduring it. What do you feel? What do you see? How would you cope? This exercise does not make the worst case more likely. Rather, it strips it of its power to surprise or overwhelm you. When you face your fears head-on in your mind, you reduce the terror of the unknown. You begin to see that while certain outcomes may be unpleasant, they are rarely as catastrophic as our anxiety makes them out to be. Negative visualization also helps build resilience by shifting our focus from the fear of loss to the recognition of what we still have. By contemplating the potential for loss, we become more grateful for the present moment. It encourages us to appreciate the people, experiences, and resources we currently have, recognizing that they are not guaranteed to last forever. This gratitude for the present, rather than an anxiety about the future, cultivates a sense of peace and contentment. Another key Stoic tool for managing fear and anxiety is the practice of mindfulness. While mindfulness may seem like a modern concept, its roots can be traced back to ancient Stoicism. The Stoics advocated for a state of heightened awareness, where we focus on the present moment, observing our thoughts and emotions without judgment. They believed that most of our anxiety is born from an overactive imagination. The mind's tendency to conjure up worst-case scenarios, obsess over past mistakes, or anticipate future problems. Mindfulness interrupts this cycle by grounding us in the here and now. By paying close attention to what we can see, hear, touch, and feel, we anchor ourselves in reality and quiet the anxious mind. Try a simple mindfulness exercise the next time you feel anxiety rising. Close your eyes and take a deep breath. Focus on the sensations around you, the texture of the fabric on your chair, the sounds outside your window, the rhythm of your breath. Remind yourself that in this moment you are safe, and that most of your worries exist only in your mind, not in reality. Notice how this practice shifts your emotional state, calming the nervous system and bringing a sense of inner peace. The Stoics also believed that courage is built through exposure. They encouraged facing our fears, not all at once or recklessly, but gradually and with intention. For example, if you fear public speaking, begin by speaking up in small groups or practice giving a speech to a friend. Each small step towards confronting your fear helps to reduce its hold over you. This process of gradual exposure builds confidence, proving to yourself that you're capable of more than you might have believed. The fear does not disappear overnight, but with each step, it becomes less daunting, less overwhelming. Reflecting on the impermanence of our experiences is another way the Stoics managed anxiety. They taught that just as joyful moments are fleeting, so too are moments of distress. When anxiety strikes, remind yourself that this too shall pass. This simple phrase can help you maintain a balanced perspective, knowing that all feelings are temporary and will eventually give way to something new. This awareness reduces the power of anxiety, reminding you that you are capable of weathering the storm, no matter how intense it may feel in the moment. The Stoic concept of amor fati, or love of fate, offers another transformative approach. It encourages us to not only accept whatever life brings, but to embrace it as necessary and valuable. To love one's fate means to see every event, good or bad, as an essential part of our personal journey, a lesson to be learned, a strength to be built, a story to be told. By adopting this mindset, fear loses its grip, and anxiety transforms into curiosity. We begin to ask, what can I learn from this? Rather than, why is this happening to me? To put these principles into practice, think about a recent situation that caused you anxiety. Apply Stoic reasoning to reevaluate your response. Did you focus on elements outside your control? How could mindfulness, negative visualization, or the love of fate have altered your perspective? Imagine if, instead of fearing what could go wrong, you began to trust that whatever happens, you have the strength to handle it, and that every challenge offers a hidden gift of growth. Ultimately, the Stoics teach us that the path to overcoming fear and anxiety does not lie in eliminating them, but in understanding and reframing them. Fear and anxiety are not enemies to be banished, but signals to be interpreted, reminders of where our minds are fixating and where our attention is needed. By focusing on what we can control, by preparing for the worst with a calm mind, by being present, and by embracing whatever fate brings, we cultivate a quiet strength that is both steady and resilient. Remember, the power to change your emotional landscape lies within you. With each breath, each mindful moment, and each courageous step towards your fears, you are building a foundation of inner strength that cannot be shaken by the uncertainties of life. In this way, you embody the Stoic ideal, a quiet mind, untroubled by the chaos of the world, resilient in the face of every storm. Lesson 5: Stoic, quiet strength and financial wisdom. Money, for many, is a source of anxiety, ambition, or even obsession. It drives countless decisions, shapes lifestyles, and often dictates our sense of success or failure. Yet for all its power, money is, at its core, simply a tool, a resource to be used wisely or wasted foolishly. The Stoics, living thousands of years ago, understood this well. They believed that true wealth did not reside in the accumulation of material goods, but in the cultivation of a virtuous life. For them, financial wisdom was less about acquiring more and more about learning to need less, to be content with what we have, and to align our economic choices with our deepest values. At the heart of the Stoic approach to money is the idea of distinguishing between needs and desires. The Stoics believed that many of our financial troubles arise from confusing the two. They taught that the key to financial wisdom lies in understanding what is truly necessary for a good life. The basics like food, shelter, clothing, and meaningful relationships, and recognizing that most of the things we chase after are merely distractions. Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor who was also a Stoic philosopher, often reflected on this idea in his writings, reminding himself that luxury is not a requirement for happiness. By focusing on what is essential, we free ourselves from the endless cycle of wanting more and more, which is often a source of anxiety and dissatisfaction. Consider your own spending habits. How often do you buy things out of impulse, driven by a fleeting desire rather than a genuine need? How much of your money is spent on things that add little to your overall well-being? The Stoics would encourage you to pause and reflect before every purchase, asking yourself, is this something I truly need, or is it just something I want in the moment? By practicing this simple act of mindful spending, you begin to develop a healthier relationship with money, one that is grounded in sufficiency rather than excess. The Stoics also emphasize the concept of sufficiency, having enough and finding contentment in that. In a world that constantly pushes us to want more, to accumulate, and to compete, the idea of enough can seem almost revolutionary. But sufficiency is not about settling for less. It's about recognizing that fulfillment does not come from external possessions, but from inner contentment. Seneca, another prominent Stoic philosopher, famously said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, who is poor." This means that true wealth is found not in having everything, but in needing little and being satisfied with what you have. Think about your own financial goals. Are they aimed at achieving genuine sufficiency, having enough to live comfortably and pursue what truly matters to you? Or are they aimed at an endless increase, driven by comparison or societal pressure? Learning to appreciate what you have, rather than constantly striving for more, can significantly reduce financial stress and increase your overall sense of happiness. This is not about denying yourself pleasures or living in deprivation. It's about understanding what truly brings you joy and focusing your resources there, rather than scattering them in 1,000 different directions. Another important aspect of Stoic financial wisdom is the value of foresight and planning. The Stoics advocated for preparing for the future, not out of fear, but out of rational assessment. They believed that a wise person considers potential risks and plans accordingly, whether it's setting aside savings, investing wisely, or preparing for potential crises. This proactive approach helps ensure that you remain financially stable even when the unexpected occurs. Instead of being caught off guard by unforeseen expenses or changes in circumstances, you are prepared, which brings peace of mind. The Stoics would advise, plan for the best, but prepare for the worst. How prepared are you for unexpected financial setbacks? Do you have a safety net in place? Regular financial planning sessions, where you honestly assess your income, expenses, and savings, can help you stay on track and maintain your peace of mind. This practice is not about being anxious or overly cautious, but about being realistic and prudent. It helps you build resilience, knowing that you have considered the possibilities and are prepared to face them calmly and rationally. Detachment is another key Stoic principle that applies to financial matters. Stoics taught the importance of remaining detached from both gains and losses, understanding that these are often beyond our control. This is particularly relevant in the realm of investments or any form of financial speculation, where market volatility can lead to emotional decision-making. A Stoic approach encourages you to make informed, rational choices based on logic and reason, rather than being swayed by greed during booms or panic during downturns. Ask yourself how you react to financial losses. Do they fill you with anxiety, regret, or frustration? Or do you see them as part of the natural ebb and flow of life? Cultivating non-attachment to material wealth helps you maintain balance and perspective, allowing you to navigate financial ups and downs with a sense of calm and poise. It is not about being indifferent to money, but about understanding that your worth is not tied to your net worth. Stoicism also encourages the wise use of resources, not just for personal benefit, but for the greater good. Financial wisdom is not just about accumulating wealth. It is also about using it to make a positive impact. This might mean making charitable donations, supporting community projects, or investing in ventures that align with your values. The Stoics believed that we are all part of a larger community and that our actions should reflect a sense of responsibility and generosity toward others. Reflect on how you use your financial resources. Do your spending and investments reflect your values? Are you using your money in ways that contribute to the well-being of others, or are they primarily self-serving? By aligning your financial decisions with your principles, you create a sense of purpose and meaning in your economic life. This practice not only enriches your own life, but also strengthens your connections to others and the community around you. Finally, the Stoics advocated for regular reflection on one's financial status and decisions. They believed that frequent self-examination helps ensure that your actions remain aligned with your values. When was the last time you reflected on your financial decisions? Do they bring you closer to the kind of life you want to live, or are they leading you astray? Implementing a routine financial review can help you stay mindful, proactive, and in control of your economic well-being. To put these principles into action, start by reviewing your current financial situation and identifying areas where Stoic principles can be applied. Consider your approach to saving, spending, investing, and giving. Are these practices aligned with the Stoic values of sufficiency, rational planning, and community support? Make one small change this week based on your reflections and observe how it affects your financial peace of mind. In embracing Stoic financial wisdom, you learn to see money for what it truly is: a tool to be used wisely, not a master to be served. You free yourself from the cycle of craving and consumption, and you gain the clarity to make decisions that align with your highest values. And in doing so, you cultivate a sense of quiet strength, a calm, confident approach to financial matters that brings not only stability, but also a deeper sense of fulfillment. Lesson 6. Achieving life balance with quiet strength. In today's fast-paced world, finding balance can often feel like chasing a moving target. Between the demands of work, the needs of loved ones, personal ambitions, and the ever-present distractions of modern life, achieving a sense of equilibrium seems like an impossible task. But for the Stoics, balance wasn't about splitting time equally among all aspects of life. It was about living in harmony with one's values, about dedicating energy and attention to what truly matters, and about finding peace amid the chaos by cultivating a quiet, centered mind. The Stoics believed that balance is less about the external distribution of time and more about internal alignment with one's principles. They taught that we should prioritize our commitments according to virtue and personal growth, For them, the first step toward achieving balance is understanding what genuinely contributes to a fulfilling life. Is it accumulating wealth or possessions? Is it constant busyness and activity? Or is it something deeper, something more meaningful? The Stoics would urge us to examine our daily routines and ask ourselves, do my actions reflect my values? Are my daily activities contributing to my growth and well-being, or are they simply distractions? Consider for a moment how much of your day is filled with tasks that you feel you have to do versus those that you genuinely want to do because they align with your core values. How many of these tasks bring you closer to the person you wish to become? The Stoics teach us that by understanding what truly matters, we can begin to eliminate what does not. The unnecessary commitments, the habits that drain our energy, the pursuits that do not fulfill us. In doing so, we free up time and space for what is meaningful, allowing us to dedicate more attention and quality effort to fewer tasks, enhancing both our productivity and our personal satisfaction. One Stoic practice that can help achieve this kind of balance is known as voluntary discomfort. This involves occasionally choosing to live more simply or to forego certain comforts. Why would the Stoics advocate this? Because they understood that by willingly stepping outside our comfort zones, we can recalibrate our sense of what we truly need. By living without certain luxuries, even temporarily, we learn to appreciate what we have more deeply. It strengthens our resilience, making us less dependent on external comforts and more grounded in our internal values. Imagine reducing your dependence on digital devices for a day, choosing to forego the constant stream of notifications, messages, and social media updates. You might find that this small act of voluntary discomfort enhances your face-to-face interactions, improves your mental clarity, and brings a deeper sense of presence to your day. By stripping away the distractions, you create space for what really matters: meaningful connections, focused work, and true relaxation. Mindfulness is another cornerstone of Stoic balance. While mindfulness is often associated with Eastern philosophies, the Stoics practice their own form of it by being fully present in every activity. Whether they were engaged in work, spending time with family, or simply enjoying a quiet moment alone, they believed in giving their full attention to whatever they were doing. This presence of mind leads to deeper enjoyment and appreciation of life's experiences. When we are fully present, we are not weighed down by past regrets or future anxieties. We are simply here, now, experiencing life as it unfolds. Try focusing solely on the task at hand without allowing your mind to wander to unfinished business or future worries. How does being present affect the quality of your engagements? Does it enhance your sense of balance and fulfillment? The Stoics believed that practicing mindfulness helps us recognize the richness of the present moment, reducing stress and bringing greater contentment. Regular reflection is crucial to maintaining life balance. According to Stoic teachings, the Stoics practiced evening reflections, a daily exercise where they would evaluate the actions and decisions of their day by asking themselves questions like, did I act according to my values today? Or could I have responded to this situation differently? They maintained a continual awareness of their growth and alignment with their principles. This practice of reflection helps identify imbalances that may lead to stress or dissatisfaction, allowing for adjustments that better reflect personal and professional goals. Imagine taking a few moments at the end of each day to reflect on how you spent your time. What insights might you gain from such a routine? Perhaps you'll notice that certain activities bring you joy and fulfillment, while others drain your energy or feel pointless. By regularly assessing your time and energy expenditure, you can make conscious decisions about where to cut back and where to invest more of yourself. The Stoic principle of adaptation also plays a vital role in achieving balance. Life is inherently unpredictable, circumstances change, and plans often go awry. The Stoics understood that rigidity leads to frustration, while adaptability allows us to maintain our center even in the face of unexpected events. When disruptions occur, Stoics view them not as obstacles, but as opportunities to practice patience, flexibility, and grace under pressure. Instead of resisting change, they ask themselves, how can I adapt to this situation in a way that aligns with my values? Think about a recent disruption in your life. Did you resist it, or did you adapt? How might adopting a Stoic mindset of adaptability help you handle future changes more gracefully? This approach doesn't mean passively accepting whatever comes your way. It means actively choosing to respond in a way that maintains your inner equilibrium, no matter the external circumstances. The Stoics also emphasize the importance of community and relationships in achieving balance. They recognize that meaningful engagement with others enriches our lives and provides crucial support during challenging times. Stoics believe that being an active, supportive member of your community and nurturing your closest relationships is essential for a balanced and meaningful life. They taught that by contributing to the common good and maintaining genuine connections, we create a support system that enhances our well-being and sense of belonging. Consider your current relationships. Are they sources of strength and support, or do they cause stress and imbalance? How do you engage with others? With patience, empathy, and sincerity, or with impatience, indifference, and self-interest? The Stoics would encourage you to make time for relationships that nourish you and to be willing to help others. The bonds we create through meaningful connections serve as anchors in life's turbulent waters. For a practical exercise, consider writing down your major weekly activities and categorizing them under necessary, fulfilling, and superfluous. Reflect on whether your current time allocation aligns with your values. Are you investing too much time in activities that do not matter to you and too little in those that truly do? If so, what adjustments could you make to create a more balanced life? Try implementing one change this week. Perhaps reducing time spent on a non-essential task and reallocating it to something that genuinely enriches you. Observe how this adjustment impacts your sense of balance and well-being. Ultimately, the Stoics teach that balance is not a static state, but a continuous process of adjustment and alignment. It is about understanding that life's demands will always fluctuate, and that our ability to navigate them with grace depends on our inner state of mind. By cultivating a quiet strength grounded in mindfulness, reflection, and adaptability, we learn to find harmony amid life's inevitable changes and challenges. Remember, true balance is not about perfection. It's about making conscious choices that reflect who you are and what you value. By living in alignment with your principles and being present in each moment, you can create a life that is both meaningful and fulfilling, no matter what external circumstances arise. This is the essence of Stoic quiet strength, a calm, centered approach to life that empowers you to live fully and intentionally every day. Lesson 7. Stoic quiet strength in decision-making. We make countless decisions every day, some small, like what to eat for breakfast, and others that shape the course of our lives, like choosing a career path or deciding where to live. Yet, despite their frequency, decision-making can often feel overwhelming. We find ourselves caught in a web of options, fears, doubts, and what-ifs. The pressure to make the right choice can be paralyzing, leaving us stuck in indecision. The Stoics, however, offer a different perspective, one that emphasizes clarity, calm, and quiet strength in navigating even the most complex decisions. For the Stoics, decision-making was not just a practical matter. It was a reflection of character and a practice of virtue. They believed that a person's choices should not be driven by external pressures or fleeting emotions, but by reason, inner principles, and a clear understanding of what truly matters. A Stoic approach to decision-making involves cultivating a quiet mind, one that is undistracted by trivial concerns and focused solely on what's essential. The goal is to make choices that are not only effective in achieving desired outcomes, but are also aligned with one's deeper values and sense of purpose. One of the most fundamental Stoic principles in decision-making is the dichotomy of control, the idea that there are things we can control and things we cannot. The Stoics taught that we should focus our energy only on the things within our control, our own thoughts, actions, and responses, and accept that everything else, including the outcomes of our decisions, lies outside our control. This principle helps to reduce anxiety and fear by shifting our focus away from what we cannot influence. It allows us to approach decision-making with a calm, rational mind, knowing that our responsibility is not to control the results, but to ensure that our choices are made with wisdom and integrity. Consider a recent decision that weighed heavily on you. Did you find yourself worrying about things outside of your control, like how others might perceive your choice or the potential for unexpected consequences? The Stoic approach would encourage you to shift your attention away from these uncontrollable factors and instead focus on the quality of your decision-making process. Are you acting according to your values? Are you making a choice that you believe is right, regardless of the outcome? By centering your decisions on what is within your control, you free yourself from the burden of uncertainty and find peace in knowing you have acted with intention and clarity. Another key Stoic strategy in decision-making is the use of foresight and premeditation. The Stoics believed in thinking several steps ahead, considering not only the immediate effects of a decision, but also its long-term implications. This practice, known as premeditatio malorum, involves contemplating potential outcomes, including the worst-case scenario, to mentally prepare for them. By imagining the various possibilities and preparing for the challenges they might bring, we become less fearful and more resilient. This approach helps to avoid impulsive decisions driven by short-term desires or fears, and instead fosters a more thoughtful, deliberate approach that takes into account the bigger picture. When faced with a significant decision, try asking yourself, what are the possible consequences of this choice, both in the short and long term? Consider how your decision aligns with your goals, values, and the person you aspire to be. By visualizing different outcomes, you not only prepare yourself for the unexpected, but also clarify which path feels most consistent with your principles. This reflection enables you to act with confidence, knowing that you have considered your decision from all angles. The Stoics also recommended the technique of negative visualization as a way to reduce fear and anxiety around decision-making. While this might sound like a pessimistic exercise, it is actually a powerful tool for building emotional resilience. By deliberately imagining the worst possible outcome of a decision, you confront your fears directly and realize that, even in the worst case, you have the inner strength to handle it. This practice removes the fear of the unknown, making it easier to make decisions with a clear mind and a steady heart. It also allows you to recognize that most fears are exaggerated and that the reality is often far less daunting than our imagination makes it out to be. Think back to a time when you were paralyzed by fear of making the wrong decision. How might negative visualization have helped you to confront those fears? By preparing yourself mentally for all possibilities, you begin to understand that, while certain outcomes may be challenging, they are rarely as catastrophic as your mind might lead you to believe. This understanding brings a sense of calm and confidence, allowing you to make choices based on reason rather than fear. The Stoics also believed in the value of simplicity in decision-making. In a world where choices can feel overwhelmingly complex, the Stoic approach is to strip away the non-essential and focus on what truly matters. This means avoiding the paralysis that comes from over-analyzing or getting lost in trivial details. Instead, concentrate on the core aspects of a decision, those that align with your values, goals, and principles. By reducing the number of factors you consider and honing in on what is truly important, you can make clearer, more confident decisions that are true to your character. Ask yourself, what is the most important factor in this decision? What aligns most closely with my values and long-term goals? By simplifying the decision-making process in this way, you eliminate the clutter of unnecessary considerations and focus on what truly matters. This practice of simplicity helps to maintain a quiet mind, one that is not bogged down by distractions or irrelevant concerns. In decision-making, the Stoics also emphasize the importance of integrity and virtue. They believed that every decision is an opportunity to practice virtues like wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. This means asking yourself not only what the most effective choice is, but also what the most ethical choice is. Does this decision align with your principles? Does it reflect fairness, honesty, and respect for others? By making decisions based on virtue, you build a foundation of personal integrity that guides you through even the most difficult choices. Reflect on your recent decisions. Did they reflect your values and principles? Were they made from a place of fear, insecurity, or external pressure, or from a place of inner strength and clarity? The Stoics teach that by grounding our decisions in virtue, we create a sense of peace and purpose that transcends the immediate outcomes. This practice not only enhances future decision-making, but also deepens our personal integrity. To integrate these Stoic practices into your daily life, try implementing a routine of daily reflection on your decision-making process. At the end of each day, take a few moments to consider the choices you made. Were they aligned with your values? Did they reflect foresight, simplicity, and rational thinking? Were they within your control, and did they embody the virtues you aspire to live by? This practice sharpens your decision-making skills and helps you cultivate the Stoic quiet strength needed to navigate life's complexities with confidence and clarity. Ultimately, Stoic decision-making is about understanding that every choice is an opportunity to practice virtue and grow in wisdom. It's about learning to trust in your inner compass, to focus on what you can control, and to accept the uncertainties of life with grace. By cultivating a quiet mind, one that is focused, intentional, and aligned with your values, you can make decisions that are not only effective, but also deeply meaningful, bringing you closer to the person you wish to become. Remember, decision-making is not about achieving perfection. It's about making choices that reflect who you are at your core. It's about knowing that no matter the outcome, you have acted with reason, integrity, and quiet strength. This is the Stoic way, to navigate life's crossroads with a calm, clear mind, always guided by your highest values. Got it! I'll pivot entirely and focus on a different angle for Lesson 8, drawing on Stoic principles while exploring a fresh, original topic. Lesson 8, embracing uncertainty with quiet strength. Life is inherently unpredictable. No matter how meticulously we plan or how carefully we try to control our circumstances, uncertainty always finds its way into our lives. It arrives in the form of unexpected events, sudden changes, or outcomes that we didn't anticipate. The Stoics understood this reality well and taught that embracing uncertainty rather than resisting it is key to living a fulfilled life. They believed that our true strength is not in trying to eliminate uncertainty, but in cultivating a calm and resilient mindset that can adapt to whatever comes our way. The Stoics encourage us to see uncertainty not as an enemy, but as an opportunity. When we face the unknown, we are invited to explore new possibilities, to venture into areas of life that we might never have considered. By accepting that we cannot predict or control every aspect of our future, we allow ourselves to remain open to unexpected outcomes, to learn from new experiences, and to grow in ways we never imagined. Imagine navigating through a thick fog on a winding road. You can't see far ahead, and the path is unclear. The natural reaction might be to panic or feel frustrated by the lack of visibility. But what if, instead of fighting the fog, you embraced it? What if you saw it as an invitation to slow down, to move with caution, and to pay closer attention to each step? In doing so, you might discover new paths or insights that you would have missed if the way had been clear. Similarly, the Stoics teach us to navigate life's uncertainties with patience and mindfulness, rather than fear and anxiety. Instead of worrying about what might happen, they encourage us to focus on what we can do right now, in this moment, with what we have. This perspective shift allows us to find peace amid the unknown, knowing that we are equipped to handle whatever unfolds. To cultivate this mindset, the Stoics suggest practicing adaptability and mental flexibility. When unexpected events occur, rather than seeing them as disruptions, we can view them as opportunities to strengthen our resilience and resourcefulness. By welcoming change and uncertainty as natural parts of life, we transform them from sources of stress into catalysts for growth. Ultimately, embracing uncertainty with quiet strength is about letting go of the need for control and trusting in our ability to respond with wisdom and courage. It's about recognizing that while we cannot foresee every twist and turn, we have the inner resources to navigate whatever lies ahead. This is the Stoic way, to remain steady and purposeful, even when the path is unclear. Lesson 9. Cultivating leadership through Stoic principles. True leadership isn't about authority or command. It's about influence, integrity, and the ability to inspire others by example. In a world where leadership is often associated with power and control, the Stoics offer a refreshing perspective. They teach that the most effective leaders are those who first learn to govern themselves, who cultivate self-discipline, wisdom, and humility. For the Stoics, leadership begins within, and it is through this inner mastery that one gains the strength to lead others. The Stoics believe that a leader's primary responsibility is to model the values they wish to see in their community. This means embodying virtues like patience, fairness, empathy, and resilience. Rather than trying to control or manipulate others, Stoic leaders focus on controlling their own reactions and decisions. They understand that their behavior sets the tone for their team or organization. When a leader remains calm under pressure, it encourages others to do the same. When a leader listens thoughtfully and responds with reason, it fosters a culture of trust and openness. One of the key aspects of Stoic leadership is emotional intelligence. The Stoics were keenly aware of the importance of understanding and managing one's emotions to interact effectively with others. A Stoic leader doesn't suppress emotions, but understands them and channels them in constructive ways. When faced with anger, fear, or frustration, they take a step back, breathe, and respond rather than react. This emotional regulation enables them to make decisions that are thoughtful and aligned with their values, rather than being driven by momentary impulses. Consider a leader in a moment of crisis. A typical response might be to react quickly, driven by panic or the need to assert control. However, a Stoic leader takes a different approach. They pause to assess the situation, weighing their options and considering the long-term consequences of each decision. They ask themselves, what is within my control right now? What choice aligns with my principles and the well-being of those I lead? This thoughtful deliberation not only leads to better decisions, but also inspires confidence and calm in those around them. Stoic leaders also emphasize the importance of humility. They recognize that no one person has all the answers and that true wisdom often comes from listening to others. They are open to feedback, willing to learn, and unafraid to admit when they are wrong. This humility creates a culture where team members feel valued, respected, and empowered to contribute their best ideas. When leaders show that they are committed to continuous self-improvement, it encourages others to do the same. Another fundamental aspect of Stoic leadership is adaptability. The Stoics taught that change is inevitable, and resisting it only leads to frustration and stagnation. A Stoic leader embraces change as an opportunity for growth and innovation. They remain flexible, adjusting their strategies as needed, while staying rooted in their core values. This adaptability allows them to guide their teams through uncertainty with confidence and clarity. Imagine a scenario where an unexpected challenge disrupts a project or goal. A Stoic leader doesn't see this as a failure or a setback, but as a chance to adapt and find new solutions. They approach the problem with curiosity rather than frustration, asking, what can we learn from this? How can we turn this challenge into an opportunity? By modeling this mindset, they inspire their teams to see obstacles not as roadblocks, but as stepping stones on the path to success. Lastly, Stoic leadership is grounded in the practice of gratitude and appreciation. A Stoic leader regularly acknowledges the contributions of others, recognizing that no achievement is the result of one person's efforts alone. This practice fosters a positive and collaborative environment where people feel valued and motivated to give their best. To cultivate these Stoic leadership qualities, begin by focusing on one principle each day in your interactions with others. Practice patience when faced with a challenge, demonstrate fairness in your decisions, or show empathy in your communication. Notice how these practices influence your effectiveness as a leader and the response of those around you. Reflect on your experiences and consider how you might integrate these Stoic values more deeply into your daily leadership style. Remember, the Stoic leader is not one who seeks control over others, but one who seeks mastery over themselves. It is through this inner strength that they inspire, guide, and lead others to achieve their highest potential. Lesson 10: Enhancing personal relationships with quiet strength. Relationships form the foundation of our lives. Whether it's with family, friends, partners, or colleagues, the quality of our relationships often dictates our overall well-being. Yet, in a world full of distractions, misunderstandings, and competing demands, maintaining healthy, meaningful connections can be challenging. The Stoics offer timeless wisdom on how to nurture and enhance these relationships through the cultivation of quiet strength. A strength that is rooted in self-control, empathy, and genuine presence. At the core, of Stoic philosophy is the idea that we cannot control others, only ourselves. This principle is especially relevant in relationships. Too often, we become frustrated or disappointed when others do not behave as we expect or desire. We try to change them, to mold them into what we think they should be, and when they resist, conflict arises. The Stoics teach that true harmony in relationships begins with accepting others as they are, without attempting to control or manipulate them. By focusing on our own actions and reactions, we create an environment of mutual respect and understanding. Imagine a situation where a friend or partner has said or done something that irritates you. The immediate impulse might be to respond with criticism, to point out their flaws, or to demand that they change. However, a Stoic approach would be to pause and reflect before reacting. Ask yourself, is this something within my control? Can I change this person, or is it more effective to change my response to the situation? By choosing to accept the other person's behavior and focusing instead on your own response, you defuse potential conflict and open the door to a more constructive dialogue. Empathy is another cornerstone of Stoic relationships. The Stoics believe that understanding the perspective of others is essential to building strong connections. This means not only listening to their words, but also trying to understand their emotions, motivations, and experiences. When we approach others with empathy, we create a safe space for open communication and genuine connection. We move beyond surface-level interactions and begin to engage with the deeper aspects of the relationship. Consider the last time you truly listened to someone without interrupting or planning your response. How did that affect the interaction? Did it deepen your understanding of the other person's feelings or situation? The Stoics would encourage us to practice this kind of active listening regularly, as it fosters empathy and strengthens our bonds with others. By making a conscious effort to listen more and speak less, we demonstrate respect and care, which in turn encourages others to open up and trust us. Forgiveness is another powerful tool in the Stoic approach to relationships. The Stoics recognize that holding on to grudges or resentment is like carrying a heavy burden that only weighs us down. They taught that everyone makes mistakes, and the true strength lies in the ability to forgive and move forward. Forgiveness is not about condoning harmful behavior, but about releasing ourselves from the negative emotions that keep us tied to the past. By forgiving others, we free ourselves to live more fully in the present and to focus on what truly matters. Reflect on a time when someone hurt you or let you down. How long did you hold on to that pain? What impact did it have on your relationship and your own well-being? The Stoics would advise that by forgiving, you not only heal the relationship, but also lighten your own emotional load. This act of forgiveness is a demonstration of quiet strength, the ability to rise above pettiness and choose peace over conflict. Another essential Stoic principle in relationships is the importance of presence. In our fast-paced, technology-driven world, it's easy to become distracted, even when we're physically with someone. We might be there in body, but our minds are elsewhere, thinking about work, checking our phones, or worrying about the future. The Stoics remind us that to truly connect with others, we must be fully present in the moment. This means giving our full attention to the person in front of us, engaging with them sincerely, and appreciating the time we spend together. Think about your interactions with loved ones. Are you fully present when you're with them, or do you often find your mind wandering? The Stoics would encourage you to practice mindfulness in your relationships, to be aware of the moments you share with others and to treat them as precious opportunities for connection. By being present, you show that you value the relationship and are invested in nurturing it. In addition to presence, the Stoics also emphasize the importance of independence within relationships. They believed that while relationships are vital, they should not define our entire sense of self. Maintaining a healthy level of independence allows us to bring our whole selves into a relationship, rather than becoming overly dependent on another person for our happiness. This balance between connection and independence is key to maintaining strong, resilient relationships. Ask yourself, how much of your identity is tied to your relationships? Do you feel that you are your own person, or do you often lose yourself in trying to meet the expectations of others? The Stoics would suggest cultivating a sense of self that is independent yet connected. By doing so, you ensure that your relationships are based on mutual respect and shared values, rather than on dependency or need. Finally, the Stoics teach us to approach relationships with a sense of gratitude. It's easy to take the people in our lives for granted, especially those we see every day. But the Stoics believe that every relationship, no matter how familiar, is a gift. They encouraged us to regularly reflect on the positive aspects of our relationships and to express gratitude for the people who enrich our lives. This practice not only strengthens our connections, but also enhances our overall sense of well-being. Consider taking a moment each day to reflect on the people you are grateful for. What do they bring into your life? How can you show them your appreciation? By expressing gratitude, you reinforce the bond you share and deepen the sense of connection and love within the relationship. To put these Stoic principles into practice, try focusing on one aspect of your relationships each day. Perhaps today you practice active listening, tomorrow you work on being more present, and the next day you reflect on forgiveness. Observe how these small changes impact your interactions and the quality of your relationships. Take notes on your experiences and consider how you can continue to apply Stoic, quiet strength to nurture and enhance your connections with others. In the end, Stoic philosophy reminds us that relationships are not just about being with others. They are about being the best version of ourselves with others. By cultivating empathy, presence, forgiveness, and independence, we create relationships that are not only strong, but also deeply fulfilling. This is the essence of Stoic, quiet strength in relationships, to engage with others from a place of inner peace, integrity, and genuine care, building connections that enrich both our lives and the lives of those we love. Conclusion: embracing Stoic, quiet strength in everyday life. Life is an ever-changing landscape filled with challenges, uncertainties, joys, and sorrows. The Stoic philosophers understood this reality deeply, and they offered us a way to navigate it with grace, wisdom, and resilience. They taught that true strength does not come from dominating others or avoiding hardship, but from mastering our own minds and choosing our responses carefully, regardless of what happens around us. This is the essence of quiet strength. A strength that is rooted not in outward power or bravado, but in inner calm, clarity, and purpose. We have explored how Stoic principles can help us cultivate this quiet strength in various aspects of our lives, from the power of silence and thoughtful speech to managing criticism with grace, from overcoming fear and embracing uncertainty to leading with integrity and nurturing our relationships with empathy and presence. Each of these lessons reminds us that we hold the keys to our own peace of mind. They encourage us to focus on what we can control, our thoughts, actions, and attitudes, and to let go of what we cannot. But Stoicism is not merely a philosophy to be studied, it is a practical guide for living. It invites us to integrate these teachings into our daily routines, to reflect on our actions and decisions, and to continually strive for personal growth and virtue. It reminds us that each day offers countless opportunities to practice patience, courage, humility, and wisdom, and that every challenge we face is a chance to strengthen our character. As you move forward, consider how you can bring more quiet strength into your own life. How can you become more mindful of your reactions, more intentional with your words, and more resilient in the face of adversity? How can you lead by example, approach your relationships with empathy, and find balance amid life's many demands? Remember, Stoicism is not about being perfect or emotionless. It is about being fully human, accepting our flaws, embracing our potential, and striving to live in harmony with our highest values. It is about recognizing that, while we may not control everything that happens to us, we always have the power to choose how we respond. So let the lessons of the Stoics guide you on your journey. Cultivate a quiet strength that remains steady in the storm, that listens before it speaks, that forgives freely, and that leads with integrity. In doing so, you will not only find greater peace and fulfillment in your own life, but you will also inspire others to do the same. For in the end, the most powerful voice is often the one that speaks softly, with intention, wisdom, and quiet strength.